I'm John Avlon, editor-in-chief of the Daily Beast. We're a website focused on politics and pop culture, based out of New York City, doing around 20 million uniques a month right now. 75% of our audience is either millennial or Gen X, and we're majority mobile as of last summer. And we're having a lot of fun doing good work, investing in real reporting. Dumbing it down is the dumbest thing you can do if you're trying to connect with millennials. There's a perhaps inevitable condescension that occurs probably in every generation, where older folks look at a rising generation and say, kids today, they don't care about the important things. They just want to waste their time on X, Y, or Z. The reality is that a high-low mix does help connect with millennials. You're going to need politics and pop culture. But at the Daily Beast, the last 6 months, we've seen actually world news compete with entertainment for our top vertical. The key is to make sure that consuming hard news doesn't taste like medicine. It shouldn't feel like an obligation. These are real stories of real heroes and villains going on in real time. And if we're not telling the stories well, that's on us. One of the things that frustrates the hell out of me in the news business is when people sort of roll their eyes and say, gosh, that's a really important story, but nobody cares. Well, that means we're not doing our job as journalists. It's our job to make the important stuff interesting. I think visual identity is becoming more important, but it's always been part of a brand's identity. I think we went through a period in online news where the visual identity of a site seemed incidental because the sheer novelty of being an online site seemed revelatory. That was like 10, 15 years ago. So anyone who's resting on their laurels in that respect isn't paying attention. That's it. I think you can jump too much over to the other side as a news site and become preoccupied with things that are outside your core competency. There are a lot of news sites investing a lot of money in digital and in video in particular, trying to create mini TV studios inside their own newsroom. I know because we did that when we owned Newsweek and we were one company. I think there's an easy mistake to make that anticipates convergence, but that's too far ahead of the curve, where you fall into a trap of trying to recreate a talk show format on people's computers. That is not going to work. I think web video works best when there's a discrete, specific, emotional or intellectual payoff. I think it works for archive video. I think it works for genuinely viral video that's off the cuff, but endlessly having reporters talk about issues, I do not think is a formula for success. I don't think it's the way people consume video. So I think that has to be part of what you offer, but you should partner with people whose core competency is that. Social media is non-optional, and everyone should have gotten that memo like 2 years ago. We have grown over 200% in the last year in social media. I love homepage. As editor-in-chief, I fetishize over the construct of the homepage, but only around a quarter of our readers will come to the homepage. The majority will come through mobile, first of all, which we became majority mobile last year. The rise of mobile and millennials are tied together. And social media is the vehicle, the mechanism by which most people are getting their news right now. That is going to be more true, not less in the future. That growth requires being really aggressive on social, treating social platforms differently as to the kind of content that's privileged in those specific kinds of communities, and doing specific aggressive outreach to those communities. Yet right now, Twitter and Facebook in particular are the giants in the room, but there are other social media platforms that are rising up, and you need to engage those with a real understanding of how people use them and what kind of content will work and flow. It's not simply enough to repost a headline. You need to think more thoughtfully about the framing of a story than you did before. The frame of a story is everything. Yeah, headlines have always mattered, but story frame, whether you A/B test it or you just, go by feel, it'll be a mixture of art and science. It's an improvisational art form at the end of the day, but that framing will be the key to success in social media, and social media playing hard, playing to win, aggressively weighing in those communities and those conversations. That is essential to succeeding as a news brand today.